Hey, this is LJ with Advanced Nutrients, and I'm here with Kieth, the founder of Norml. Man, amazing.
Well, I think that most people think that I must be dead. Is what they assume. Norml's been around forever. We were actually started in late 1970, and it was a result of some work I had done with Ralph Nader, consumer advocate Ralph Nader. And I'd been a draft debater. I was trying to stay out of the Vietnam War, and I ended up working for this presidential commission that was largely Ralph Nader's work. And I got turned on to public interest law, but the issue I cared about was legalizing marijuana. I had first smoked marijuana when I was a freshman at Georgetown Law School. I actually started late. A lot of people obviously smoke in high school or college. No, I was a beer drinker there. But somebody turned me on my freshman year at Georgetown, and I've been smoking now, I guess, 48 years or something like that. But the reason I started Norml, I never would have done it but for that experience I had working with Ralph Nader.
It's incredible. I mean, you guys have spearheaded. I mean, Norml's got to take credit for all that we've seen in the last 10 years. So many changes. I mean,
I think what we did is, when the year before we started Norml, only 12% of the public supported legalization, and we know that because Gallup poll issued their first ever survey question on legalizing marijuana. 88% of the country was against what we were into. Now, we gradually built that up over 4 decades, and so in the last year and a half, there have been at least 5 major national surveys that show a majority of the American public now support full legalization, not just medical use, but they want to end prohibition. They want to legalize and tax and regulate marijuana if you're 21 and above, the responsible use. So the point I want to make about that is we have won by gradually winning the hearts and minds of the American public. That's a very slow process. I mean, it's a big country, and it takes a long time. A lot of older Americans had to die and retire and be replaced by younger Americans. So I knew we were going to win it just because of the demographics, but I wasn't sure I'd live long enough to see it. So I sure as hell am glad you folks in Colorado moved ahead.
Right. And don't you think the baby boomer, I was reading a little bit about this. They said they just pulled, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the LA Times.
Yeah,
they said wasn't it like 70% of people want the war on drugs?
Yeah,
Believe that marijuana should just be made legal and leave it alone, move on.
If it were really only up to the 20-year-olds, probably, or the people in their 20s, they'd probably support the tomato model, we call it, where you have no limits on quantity, you can sell to anybody you want or whatever. Unfortunately, 87% of the public do not smoke marijuana. We have about 13% of the public in most states. It's a little higher in the West Coast and East Coast and a little lower in the Midwest and South. But roughly 13% of the public smoke. So in order to win legalization, we have to make sure we put those arguments out there that appeal to the non-smoker. So that's why you don't see us passing initiatives that would have the tomato model. They simply wouldn't enjoy the majority support of the public. But for example, the public is rightly concerned. They don't want to see a lot of stoned drivers on the highway. They have a right to that. They shouldn't be put at risk. Now, it gets complicated because there is no test that measures impairment very well with marijuana like the breathalyzer for alcohol. So we need to develop that. But at least what we do know is that for a couple of hours after you smoke, you really shouldn't be driving. For most people, you're going to have 5 nanograms or higher in your blood. And most of the research shows you're not as safe a driver as you would be if you were straight. Now, you're not nearly as dangerous as an alcohol drinker. Alcohol drinkers, the mistakes they make driving are deadly. It's mostly speed. They pass on curves and things. So when they have an accident, it's often deadly. With marijuana smokers, the kind of mistakes they make are the kind you witness.
Did a stop sign too long?
That's right. You're waiting for the stop sign to change colors, or you're driving so slow you get pulled over for the cops because what you're looking for, you're saying, was that the turnpike exit I wanted, or is it the next one? There's a little level of confusion. Now, I'll tell you what it is important for us to get out. We need for marijuana smokers to understand that the worst thing is someone who drinks and smokes at the same time and then drives. And by the way, I like to drink. When I go home at night, my average evening for me when I watch the news, I pour a glass of wine and I roll a joint.
I do almost the same thing.
And I should not and don't get behind the wheel of a car because I'm telling you what the tests show is it exacerbates. It's much worse than alcohol by itself.
Yeah.
But again, it is true. Marijuana is not nearly as dangerous as alcohol, but that's not the standard we have to meet. We have to convince non-smokers that they're going to be safe when they drive down to the store or take their family to church. And they've got a right to expect that.
Agreed. But I mean, you've got to be thrilled with the headway that with the California, medical acts,
Sure,
and everybody following. Now we've got full-blown legalization, and
we are.
In my mind, is the guy who started that race.
Well, we are at the tipping point, and there is no turning back. I really do believe that because we enjoy the majority support of the American public, we don't have to worry that some prosecutor is going to get a headline and convince people, oh, this is a big mistake. No. People have learned over the last 75 years, that's how long prohibition's been in effect, that it doesn't work. It didn't work with alcohol, and it doesn't work with marijuana. We've arrested over 20 million Americans on marijuana charges just since 1965. More Americans are arrested every year for marijuana than for all violent crimes combined. So, I mean, come on. We waste an estimated $10 to $12 billion a year in law enforcement resources chasing, arresting, and prosecuting marijuana smokers. So it's time to stop that. And then, as they're finding out in Colorado and Washington, there is an enormous amount of revenue to be raised. It only costs about $25 an ounce to grow a good ounce of marijuana if you're not running from the police. So even if they want to add $100 for tax, I'd be happy if I paid $125 an ounce. How about you? I pay a little more than that now.
I'd be happy to have the marijuana available.
Of course, just to have it convenient. I don't want to go to the black market. It's uncomfortable. It's not safe. Sometimes you get ripped off. You don't know for sure what you're buying. Consumers for marijuana want largely what consumers want in other areas. They want a high-quality product that's safe and affordable. And by safe, what you need to know there's no adulterants. It's been tested for mold, and you need to know the THC strength and the CBD strength, the cannabidiol. Those are the minimum things that we ought to expect. And by the way, in Colorado and to some degree in California, the major dispensaries do that now, and they're doing it on their own. Well, we're going to make sure that it's built into the law and the regulations in the states are fully legalized. So, in the future, what I want with marijuana is I want a high-quality product that's convenient and affordable.
Yeah, and that's it. Seems like
the consumers want in any other area.
Seems like that's certainly been the trick, though.
Yeah.
The government keeps putting their nose into it, and it also makes it hard for I know patients in California that are so stressed to go on the black market, and then all the dispensaries get shut down, they're just going without it. People switch over to drinking, and
even the patients who really need it. In a lot of the medical use states, there are now 18, 19, I guess 19 medical use states now, with Illinois just flipping over in the District of Columbia. But a lot of those state laws are very restrictive. Not everybody who can benefit from medical marijuana qualifies. So the only way all patients are going to have marijuana available who could use it is when marijuana is legalized for all adults, period. It's none of the government's business whether we smoke or why we smoke.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
This is an absolute honor. Kieth, the gentleman who started Norml, the reason that all the rest of us get a smoke.